Hello, hello, and welcome to your morning momentum. Today, we're reimagining your future. You are taking what you learned in day one from reigniting with your purpose, from really understanding the expectations you have from life, from looking at the different buckets in your life. Then you moved into our second session, which was around reconnecting with your voice. You got to meet logical Layla and compassionate Kate. You understood the voices within yourself. You took a moment to listen, to visualize, and to reconnect, and to shorten that gap between who you are and who you want to please. And today in our morning momentum, we're going to have guided journaling, and it's all about reimagining who you are. It's about taking from our last two sessions of reigniting and reconnecting and adding to that. It's about you understanding what it is to listen to your intuition, what it is to say, I have this gut feeling. And not only to say it or to listen to it, but also to act on it. But really, reimagining your future can only happen if your vision is crystal clear. So what you want to do, first of all, before we get into today, is make sure that you are heading over to your Words of Wisdom kit right there on the right side and downloading that. Once that's downloaded, we can start to dive into the worksheets. So if you need to hit pause in this moment, go ahead and do so. All right, now that you've gotten your Words of Wisdom kit up, we're going to talk about reimagining your future. So again, the goal is to get a vision that's crystal clear. Is that going to happen right now? No. Is it going to happen by the end of the worksheets? Probably not. But this is a starting point for you to understand what you need to reimagine your future first, and then be so clear about it that you can actually make it an actionable. The whole point of owning your voice is finding that best voice within so that you can come to action. Find the best voice within so you can come to action. It was worth saying twice. Okay, now let's look at what your ultimate vision is for your life in the areas, in those buckets that we've identified with yourself. So that could be mind, body, and soul, one, the other, or all. With your relationships, family, romantic, or friends, I'm always going to tell you 1% in one bucket at a time. So if you want to write out your vision for all of them, you can. But if there's a certain area you know right now, if I improve my relationship with my lover versus my mom versus my sibling, like which one of those, improving those will serve you the best? Prioritize. What's that vision you have for your mission and your money, your purpose and your profit? What do you see there? And how about spirituality, that connection with hope and a higher power? So you're going to venture into really thinking about your future. Yesterday, or I should say at least session 2, whether you're looking at these or listening to these day to day, the last session, compassion and logic, were self-talk notions that you adopted. You name that voice so you can begin to think that way and make decisions that way. You also name 2 other voices, a positive and a negative one. So these are voices you call on to make sure that any inner bully that you have, you are pushing back against, because your ultimate vision for yourself, your relationships, your mission, or your money, or your spirituality should be your ultimate vision. And for it to feel good and for it to ever get crystal clear, so clear that you can articulate it, it has to be what you truly want. And if you are just, reconnecting, and the last session on reconnecting is something that's still settling into your bones, give yourself time. Come back to this vision and continue to articulate it and call on those voices that really hype you up and help you see clearly. All right? And how are you working towards that vision in small ways? Remember that 1% in one area of your life, one day at a time. So think about that. 1%, one day at a time. What are those small ways in each of your areas of life that you can move forward? And now, do you want to sit down and write a list for everything? That's okay. You don't need to. You already know, and you have with the last two sessions between Reignite and Reconnect, especially in that visualization for Reconnect, I think you really know, where's my starting point? Is it with myself? Is there a major relationship in my life? If I invest in that, it'll help myself. Is it really my work that's my holdup? And if I work into my mission and my money, other things will begin to fall in line? Or do I need to focus on my spirituality? So pick your bucket and understand that 1% of change every day. And what really builds your momentum, fuels your work, and connects you to any of that are your core values. This is how you can really understand who you are. What are your values? What do you value? And there's a list of core values there to get your juices flowing. You could do one word, you could do sentences. It's important to get down on your values because these are the building blocks. Every day I work with folks in personal branding, and having them identify their values is so important when it comes to being clear on their vision and how they're going to handle the challenges on their way. Which value will they rely on? And that's what I'm asking for you to do. Your values. So we got 3 new voices that you're going to meet: Intuitive Inez, Visionary Vanessa, Bullshit and Becky. When I ask you to name these voices, what are we doing? Emotional intelligence. What's the first step to emotional intelligence? Self-awareness. What is self-awareness? Listening to thyself, to the 100,000 thoughts I have in a day, and understanding what's my authentic voice, what's me coping, what's me on autopilot, what is me really in line with my purpose, with that me igniting. And so Intuitive Inez is that gut instinct, and it's about building that muscle. A lot of times creatives think creativity is going to hit them like lightning. No, creativity finds you working. So does your gut. So does your intuition. So you're going to call on Intuitive Inez, learn about the ABCs of her in your Words of Wisdom worksheets. Hold those tight to you. When you begin to ask yourself what you envision for these different areas of your life, if you haven't done this in a while, or if you've really been conditioned or have some trauma or bad experiences or just plain old exhausted, thinking what you really want is hard. So you're going to call on Visionary Vanessa and read those ABCs. She'll allow you to think bigger. And yes, maybe logical Layla might come in this sense be a downer and be like, you can't think that big, girl. That's okay. Visionary Vanessa is there to really help you think as big as you want. You're allowed to daydream like you did when you were small. It's okay. And Bullshit and Becky. Now she's going to come along and interrupt you, and she's definitely one that wants to interject with Visionary Vanessa and that negative voice that you named and Reconnect. You might be dealing with that one too. So when you dream big, these other things come up, and that's a really great way to learn and get emotionally intelligent about you and your voice and how you cope. Reimagining makes you first understand where you are now. What's the reality you've painted for yourself now so that you can reimagine it? And then you'll find your power and you will own your voice. All right, so excited. Let's get to the guided journaling. You should be on those last few pages, 6 and 7 of your Words of Wisdom guide. Now you'll remember in your morning momentum session for Reconnect, I had you really kind of write out your perspective for this year. That's when we're trying to figure out, hey, what voice in there is ruling? Is it Compassionate Kate? Is it Logical Layla? You want to figure out what voice is ruling your world and start from there. And so here, when we go into your guided journaling, I want you to first pick, remember that 1% from one bucket? So what is it that you want to reimagine first? Is it that relationship with yourself? Is there another one major relationship? I don't want you to go through all the relationships in your life. One major one. Or is it coming back in line with your mission and your money and your purpose? Are you wanting to kind of go down and investigate that more within yourself? Or are you drawn more to the spiritual connection? So you're going to choose one of those areas of your life, and that's the first place where you'll begin to exercise inviting Intuitive Inez to help you. Right? So that's your gut. That is those whispers that you've maybe listened to, maybe you haven't. Perhaps you did listen to them in the past, you activated them, and then you dealt with some challenges that were disheartening and you turned away. Well, this is the time to reignite. And if you're not reigniting and igniting for the first time, well, welcome back. To ignite and connect, you got to be able to imagine. You got to have vision. You got to trust your gut and get rid of bullshit and Becky. So those three voices I introduce you because as you begin to go into this journaling and what I'm going to ask you to really do, you want to make sure that those three ladies or voices or coping patterns are not writing your story. So what perspective did you have yesterday or when you did actually do those morning momentum sessions for Reconnect? What perspective did you have for the year? What voice wrote that? Be aware of that. Be aware of that voice. Make sure that you're just keeping it right there in the forefront so that your most authentic voice comes to Reimagine. You're picking one area of your life and to intentionally change 1% at a time in that area of your life, you need to learn what? And don't get disheartened and don't make a list that's so crazy. There's some things that you need to learn and there's some things that you could figure out by asking other folks. So what do you need to learn? And that includes resources and other people you know. What do you need to unlearn? What are some things that are getting in your way or blocking the way that you think or making you think more calculated and less creative? And at the end of the day, in that 1% of your life, once you learn and you unlearn and you have those conversations, what's that ultimate impact story that you're going to tell? What's that clear vision you have for that area of your life? So reimagining your future is where your mission and your purpose and who you truly are, fueled by your values, all collide. So that last page of your wow kit, whether you use that page or head into your journals, I want you to take a full page at least to write that impact story. What is that impact story? It's that for that one area of your life, that big vision that is so clear that you can articulate it, not just how it feels, how it smells, maybe even the process of the day-to-day in that area of your life. Describe it as much as you can, get clear as much as you can, and take notice of the static or the pushback and name those voices as well. You be the author when you reimagine. Make sure that you're doing that and have a vision so clear that you're articulating it easily, and that will come. Respect the process. I can't wait for tomorrow where you reclaim your power and bring this vision to life. See you in the next session.